All right, everybody, welcome to the 2021-2022 Scholars Reception. It's so good to see all of you here today. Thank you so much for, first of all, making it up all those stairs or waiting on the elevator. That's no easy feat. And I do want to remind everyone, I did tell the scholars this already, we are doing an EProgram this year. We have a whole website page dedicated to today's event. So on this, if you capture this on your phone using your camera, it's going to take you to that web page. You'll get the EProgram, you'll get the kudo board. So all of our senior scholars get a kudo board that we hope family and friends and each of you will sign for one another, as well as the live stream and then the recording later after today. All right, so without further ado, sorry, let me get my notes here. So I want to begin with a land acknowledgement statement. The Center for Community Engaged Learning and its Community Engagement Scholars Program acknowledge that the University of Minnesota Twin Cities occupies lands included in 1805, 1837, and 1851 treaties between the United States government and the sovereign Dakota Nation. Due to the U.S. government's failure to uphold any of these treaties, these lands still rightfully and legally belong to the Dakota people. The Dakota are the only people indigenous to this place, and they have maintained a spiritual connection to and physical presence in it throughout history, to the present day as a part of the Twin Cities' large and vibrant Native American community. So officially, good evening and welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us as we celebrate 38 graduating scholars this year. My name is Basanti Miller. I use she, her pronouns, and I manage the Community Engagement Scholars Program. I graduated from the University of Minnesota Twin Cities in the spring of 2011, and I've had the great pleasure of managing this program for the last 4 years. I'm also a proud Scholar alum and a University Honors Program graduate. Before we officially begin, I would like to appreciate those who have been instrumental in planning and organizing this event tonight. And I would like to honor those who have supported and continue to support our program. So when I call the name of your specific group, if you'd like to identify yourself, you want to raise a hand, stand up, whatever you feel comfortable doing, we'll acknowledge everybody at the end of me reading this list. So thank you to administrators and employees of the U of M who support our office, UMN faculty who instruct our scholars in community engaged learning courses, community partners who work in collaboration with our scholars, CCEL staff, including our student employees who make this program and event possible, CESP Leaders Board members who also helped us with this event tonight and support other scholars and the growth of our program, advisory board members who support our scholars and the growth of our program, CESP alums, who all of you soon will be. You are the foundation of this program, and also some alums are here tonight to join us. And of course, friends and families of our scholars, it's so wonderful to see you here tonight. We thank you so much for being here to celebrate your scholars. And last but certainly not least, our classes of graduating scholars, and this year we have a few that we want to recognize due to the pandemic. We have classes of 2019, 2020, 2020, and 2021, and of course, this year's graduating group, 2021, 2022. Let's give it up. As we celebrate this inspirational group of scholars, I'm excited to share that collectively, these students have contributed more than 15,000 hours of community engagement. They've completed 228 reflections and have taken 304 credits of community engaged learning coursework. They also have participated in HECUA programs, studied abroad, studied away through national student exchange, and have worked with hundreds of organizations locally, nationally, and globally. As we reflect on these accomplishments tonight, we will discuss the 6 unique themes that we ask each of our scholars to reflect upon during their time in the program. Our 6 reflection themes and their affiliated prompts are as follows. Ethic of engagement. What does engagement mean to you and why do you do it? Sense of self. How do your intersecting identities relate to the work that you do? Identities, power, and privilege. How do each of these topics operate within your community work and community engaged learning courses? Collaboration and community building. Who else is involved in working on the same issues that you are? Agency. What is your capacity to create and sustain social change? Integration and contextualization, or the creation of a digital story. What are the common threads in your community engagement and academic work? So we ask that you please keep these 6 reflection themes in mind throughout our ceremony, and you will be reminded of what they are as our students will be speaking on each of these themes. So without further ado, I'd like to invite our first of several student speakers up to the podium. I'd like to welcome our first speaker tonight. They will each be giving you an idea of what it's like to be a scholar in this program by reflecting on one of our 6 themes. So our first speaker tonight is Brenna. Husky, awesome, thank you, to share her reflections on the theme of ethic of engagement. Come on up, Bryn.
Testing. Okay. Hi everyone, I'm Bryn. I'm a senior here at the University of Minnesota, and I graduate in 3 days. It really is surreal how fast time flies. Upon my graduation and during this last semester, I've been able to do some reflecting back on my time here at the U and my journey with the Community Engagement Scholars Program, all the way back to 2019 when I wrote my first reflection on ethic of engagement. In my reflection, I focused on my motivations and approach to work with my community, as well as what I see as my intended outcome of the work once my time would inevitably come to an end at each community site. After I wrote my reflection, Basanti and I had a meeting to discuss and go over my work. I am very thankful we did, because that conversation altered my perspective and the way I would engage in my future community work during the program. I remember I wrote about the way I see engagement within my community as helping and serving for others. And although this may appear to be a sweet sentiment, Basanti showed me how this can be dangerous. The work the Community Engagement Scholars Program is trying to do with its scholars is not one of charity, but of activism, connection, and social justice. It is important to actively work to diminish the idea that we are above or others are below us when dealing with community engagement. There is a difference between having good intentions versus going into a community with the awareness that you are a guest in the space and asking a community what area, if any, could benefit or improve from more support. When we work together, we have the ability to build and maintain trustworthy relationships and make long-lasting impact in the community even after the initial work is done. The words we use matter, even if at first glance there is seemingly no difference between volunteering for a community organization and working with a community organization. I gained critical perspective from these distinctions and have brought it with me to each community site I have been grateful and fortunate enough to be a part of. So the words we use and the perspective that we hold have the power to shape our experiences to be shallow or meaningful ones. The impact the Community Engagement Scholars Program and all the community sites have had on me are experiences that have grown and shaped the way I not only look at community engagement, but also life. I could not imagine my time here without this program and the people in it that I've met along the way. As I continue on after my undergrad career here at the University of Minnesota, I will always remember what my ethic of engagement reflection taught me back in 2019. That what you put into it is what you're gonna get out of it, and how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Thank you so much, Bryn. Next, we will hear from Reyna Markert, who will share her reflections on the theme of sense of self.
Hi, everyone. I'm Reyna, and I double majored in Spanish Studies and English Literature. And when I declared a Spanish major in the fall of my freshman year and then joined the Community Engagement Scholars Program my junior year, I had a lot of opportunities to follow my passions and explore who I am. One example of this was my sense of self-reflection, where we're called to reflect on our identities and how they impact the way they move through the world. I reflected specifically on emotions and how the emotions that I've felt have guided my work. And now that my time in college is coming to an end, in true Pisces fashion, it's very easy to put on rose-colored glasses. I hope that I remember the laughter shared with friends and the aha moments in the classrooms more than I remember the late-night homework sessions. But what I hope I never forget is the passion that brought me to college and to the Community Engagement Scholars Program in the first place. My love for the Spanish language and the connections it has given me has sustained me through my 4 years of study. I don't think academia in general leaves space for our emotions enough. In many areas, we're praised for removing our emotions and being as subjective as possible. And while I think there is merit in this practice, I do believe that we need to afford more spaces for our passions and for what excites us. And I'm so, so grateful that I've been able to explore those emotions and that excitement through the Community Engagement Scholars Program. If we accept and celebrate our emotions in academia and in the workforce, we can better understand who we are and how our identities interact with the world. CSP has allowed us to explore those emotions in each of our sites, and we get to see what excites, frustrates, confuses, and motivates us. And going forward, I hope we all understand and explore how our emotions are signals telling us which paths to follow. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Reyna. All right, before we hear from our other keynote speakers tonight, we're going to begin recognizing our graduating scholars. So I'd like to welcome Laurel up to the front and a couple of other esteemed guests who will be helping present our medals and our certificates tonight. So we're going to start with our fall 2021 graduates. So this fall, we had 3 hybrid sections of, this fall, we had 3 hybrid sections of the capstone seminar for CESP. The capstone is also known as CESP 3901. So we'll begin with section 1. So if your name appears on the screen, please be ready to come to the front to receive your certificate and medal in the order it appears on the slide. So first, Hamdi Abbas. Kristen Gill can't be with us tonight, but we still want to honor her. Samantha Irvin, who is streaming in. Hello, Samantha, on this laptop over here. Congratulations, let's give it up for her. Bill Coity. Also not here tonight, but we want to recognize Vibha Mavanji, Swati Rampali, Beck Sanchez, and who is here this evening, Priscilla Chenwei Yen. Now for section 2. Colleen Christensen. Dani Follett Dion. Camille Samuelson, who cannot join us tonight. Madison Schumacher. And Rachel Tritch. Our section 3 of the fall, those 2 students could not be here tonight, but we still want to recognize them, Stephen Martin and Jake Robinall. And let's give it up one more time for all 3 of our sections in the fall. Next, I am honored to welcome up, thank you to our guests. We're going to take a pause on the acknowledgements for now. We're going to hear from another speaker. I'm honored to welcome Zara Khan to share her reflections on the theme of identities, power, and privilege.
Thank you for that kind introduction, Vasanthi. My name is Zara Khan. I can use pronouns like she, her. I'm a political science graduate from the University of Minnesota, and I minored in Asian and Middle Eastern Studies. The Identities, Power, and Privilege theme, IPP for short, asks scholars to interrogate our identities and inform our approaches in the ways we understand impacting communities. Our community work must be addressed with a social lens. which IPP prompts. We play an active role in building relationships with communities, and we must play an active role in learning the paths in which our social justice journey begins. Today, I will address how the Scholars Program has prompted me to understand the intersectionality of my identities and how we as scholars must continue to reinforce this theme in our community work beyond this experience. Systems of power shape the way society assigns our privileges, and it also impacts our lived experiences. If we want to build connections with communities, we must first challenge our own fragilities and be willing to grapple with our own powers and privileges. This does not, once again, exist in one moment, and it's a long-term journey we have to embark. One of my first CESP experiences was the Power of Flower reflection, where we identified society's advantages and disadvantages imposed on us.
So some of the identities that we sort of spoke to was our place of birth, religion, race, religion, native language, physical ability, sexual orientation, and education. In this reflection, I recognized how much power I had in terms of my education. But I also recognized the prescribed disadvantages society imposed on me. I did not see these as disadvantages, and I sort of harnessed my sense of self in this experience. A big takeaway for me was understanding where my community was, and I could make an impact starting within my community. And I started to work in the local community as well as a result. Building relationships with community is not a one-way street. And what this program tells us and asks us to do is consider how much we're learning from these experiences. We take a lot away when we're doing community work. So how are we giving back? But how do we understand giving back in the long term as well? We have an immense point of privilege as students in this academic community. This is a predominantly white institution, and thus some of our experiences don't look like others. This is a stress system, and we have understood this not just only through COVID, but we've understood this in our conversations that we've had on racialized policing in this country. Now, we must also understand that as a result of these conversations, now we're talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion. But this needs to continue into the future, and we must consider how we can come back to the Scholars Program too. So as scholars, I just want to leave us to understand that we can actively break stereotypes, and we must understand the stories of communities. By understanding our own stories, we'll be able to continue this journey. And I want to thank you all for your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Zara. Next, we will hear from Bill Coity, who will share his reflections on the theme of agency.
All right, thanks. So the beginning of agency describes the capacity to act. So when we go on to our reflection, that's the first thing that shows up. Agency is your ability to determine your actions, to see what impact your actions have on the life of you and the others around you. We determine what we do every day, what our passions are, what social causes we choose to stand up for. But making decisions in our lives, especially those that impact others, is not easy. We cannot pour water from an empty cup. That is why agency also requires us to reflect upon and review what we've been able to accomplish in order to continue. This reflection allows us to take the time to review your impact and the impact of your chosen organization, to build a story map to help other people learn about the social causes that ignite your passions, or either attend or host a RAP session, which stands for Reflection, Action, and Partnership, and is a core central part for CESP. For this reflection, I chose to lead a RAP session based on a mask making project for my local hospital that I worked on during the start of the pandemic. I knew other people like myself were not sure of what to do in order to serve our communities when our organizations had to cease their volunteering. So I thought hosting a RAP session would be the easiest way for me to complete the fifth reflection, but there is no easy way out. Putting the RAP session together required me to reflect on each stage of the project for what I did and what I had not considered when I was working on it. I had to think about the planning at the beginning of the project when my mom and dad and I were sitting at our table with very small designs and just a few masks. And then in what seemed like moments, we had a whole area of our house and hundreds of masks sitting around. That short amount of time matters though, because we were trying new designs and figure out where to go forward. Those steps were the most challenging to work through, but were also the most important because those decisions and actions set the foundation for the rest of the project. When finally thinking about how to present my own project and create a template for other people to work on, I worked on what foundational information and steps were necessary to share so that other people could work towards their own goals and passions, even when there might not be an organization or a previous path that cannot be followed. I also learned that while it can take time and does not always seem useful, reflecting on your work allows you to think about your own motives behind each action. These allow you to seek out new opportunities that will keep you engaged and sustain your motivation. But there are times when we are unable to accomplish our goals because that is just how life works. I learned that because that's how life works. But not all is lost because we can choose to reevaluate our work and find a new path with our skills and experiences that we learned from our old work. I think all of us have had some frustrating, exhausting experiences along our journey in CESP, but we have our community to lean on and the reflections to force us to pause and think about our work before we are able to sustainably continue our actions towards the positive change that we seek.
Thank you, Bill, and thanks again to all of our guest speakers so far. We will now recognize our scholars who enrolled in the capstone seminar in the spring and one who will be enrolling in the fall. This past spring, we had 3 hybrid sections of 3901. We'll begin just as we did before with section 1. So again, if your name appears on the screen, please be ready to come to the front to receive your certificate and medal in the order it appears on the slide. Kiana Dufault, congratulations. Kyle Gracie can't be here today. Julia Machuchu is here, congratulations. Saja Osman could not be here today. Kaylin Oliver had to leave early today, and Eliza Scholl could not be here today. We will now move into section 2. Julia Birdsell is, I think, joining us live stream, so let's give it up for Julia. Congratulations. Juliana Tennant is here. Let's celebrate her. Bryn Titchkuski, congratulations. Che Young Wei could not be with us tonight, but Amy Wagner is here tonight. Congratulations. Manira Ahmed could not be here tonight. Casey Hokanson could not be here tonight. Zara Khan is here tonight. Congratulations. Reyna Markert is here tonight. Congratulations. And Emma Mentz will be taking the course in the fall, so let's celebrate her, and she'll be graduating then. Congratulations. All right, let's give it up for all of our spring and fall students. So, due to the pandemic, we have been unable to celebrate graduating scholars in person. So it's been many years. It feels so good to have you all in this space in person. I am delighted to take this moment to recognize and celebrate several scholars who graduated between 2019 and 2021 and are here to join us today either in person or remotely. So again, if your name appears on the screen and you're here in person, please be ready to come to the front to receive your certificate and medal. Hannah Al-Absi, I don't think she's here today, but let's celebrate her. Diana Machuchu, come on to the front. Congratulations, good to see you. Grace Cynthia Wanja Ketcha, come on up. I think Jane Yap is joining us on live stream, so let's give a round of applause for Jane. And Chilin Zhang, come on up to the front. Congratulations. All right, let's give it up for our 2019-2021 graduates.
like to recognize a group of scholars who have opted to take on additional leadership roles within CESP. This group is known as the CESP Leaders Board. In addition to completing all CESP requirements, Leaders Board members support recruitment events, social events, and serve as advisors to our program. Leaders Board members are critical to the success and growth of this program. They're the student voice of this program. So please welcome our current Leaders Board President, Dani Follett-Dion, who will say a few words for us tonight.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you again for attending the Community Engagement Scholars Program Spring Reception. As you know, my name is Dani, and I've been a part of CESP since the spring of my freshman year. I first found out about the program through an information session, which sparked my interest because I was looking for a way to not only be involved in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area community, but also have a community of like-minded students. I've been able to reflect on my experiences working with multiple organizations in various sectors, including politics, racial justice, and environmental justice. Once the pandemic started, I couldn't volunteer on site anymore, but I was looking for opportunities to become more involved on campus, and the CESP Leaders Board was a great opportunity to take on a leadership role in a space that I was already familiar with. I grew on the Leaders Board last year as I became better at working in a group to coordinate events, recruitment, and marketing efforts. From last year to this year, the board shrank as about half of the board graduated. So being vice president of the board last semester and president of the board this semester, I've been able to see and facilitate a lot of structural changes and have had to figure out how to prioritize different projects with a smaller capacity. This semester, our main goal was to put on Rap Day and make it as successful as possible, which it was thanks to help from the board, the CCEL staff, including Basanti, Ava, and Maddie. I'm excited to leave the board in new hands with Anders and Swetha, and I look forward to seeing what they're able to accomplish, as well as continue watching the Scholars Program be as successful as possible. And finally, I would like to congratulate the graduates. I know you've all worked extremely hard through your coursework, volunteering, and more, and I wish you all the best in the next steps of your journey. Thank you.
So I'm going to acknowledge all of our board members. We will not do, already got your certificate in your folder already, so I'm going to call everybody's name. This is last fall and this spring, and then at the end we can acknowledge everybody. Anders Cameron, Dani Follett-Dion, Zara Khan, Nazish Khan, Lindsay McGurn, Isaac Riggins, and Swetha Shankar. I would now like to welcome Laurel Hurt, who is the director of the Center for Community Engaged Learning, and Heidi Barajas, who is the interim associate vice president for public engagement, to offer some closing remarks to our graduating scholars before we close out tonight.
Thank you, Basanti. Thank you all for being here tonight. It's a great pleasure to be back in person after 2 years of doing this remotely. It was fun. It was great to see everyone, and we were able to have wonderful family and guests from around the world with us when we were doing this remotely. So I'm really glad we were able to also bring in the electronics today too. But I want to thank Basanti for the incredible work she has done. It's been a really challenging time for all of us. I know it's been challenging for all of the students, as you heard them talk about challenges of their organization shutting down and figuring out how to continue. It's been equally challenging supporting the program and trying to keep things going forward and positive along the way. But it's been done very successfully, and I'm so glad to see you all graduating and to be able to welcome friends and family with you today. I'd also like to let you know who shook hands with our students today. You heard Dr. Heidi Barajas is the Interim Associate Vice President for Public Engagement. I will also mention she is one of the founding members of the Scholars Program Working Group. from back in the early 2000s with me. Yes. No. You also saw Dr. Kelvin Phillips, who is the Senior Vice President and Dean of Students here on our Twin Cities campus, and this is his first opportunity to join us for the Scholars Reception. So thank you, Kelvin, for being here today. Also, one last recognition, our former AVP for Public Engagement, Dr. Andy Furco, who stepped down from his role in December, is with us today because he loves this event. So thanks for being here, Andy. And last but not least, Maddie, thank you for all of your work with putting together the technology as well as the balloon arch that everyone is going to love taking photos in front of downstairs after this, right? Okay, Heidi. Wrap us up.
Thank you, Laurel, and congratulations again to everyone. This is one of the best events of the year on this campus, and yes, I've been involved with Laurel and doing this work. Well, I was out here just shortly before she came, but we pretty much have been doing this journey together, and she has invited me to participate in many different roles, and I'm very grateful for that. Let me make this observation. I listened to the speeches today, and I read the things on the board that all of you have participated in. And let's just say that we are in a very interesting time in these United States, and I'm unclear whether or not we are a United States or not. But what I can say to you is that everything you said today about your reflection and the work that you have done in reflecting and understanding your identities, interrogating what that means, understanding what that means in terms of how we work in the world is so much more important than, even though I see you all shaking your heads, it's even more important than you know. My observation of the last 4 or 5 years has been, we not only can't talk to each other, we talk past each other, but I really think it's more about that inability to reflect, that inability to know where you stand so that you can then hear others. So I congratulate you on the fact that if you stumbled into this, that's a great thing. If it was a passion of your heart before you even got here, I'm glad you're still doing it. And my hope is that you take this work and you take this process and continue to do it. I reflect every day from every encounter I have, and it's what keeps me as grounded as possible and also being around people like Andy and Laurel. So thank you, and congratulations parents as well. I think it's all about the parents. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Laurel and Heidi. So that concludes tonight's program. I just want to thank you all for being here with us tonight. It means a lot that we're all sharing space physically in a room together. It's very heartwarming for me as well. It's been such a pleasure to work with all of you students. It's the highlight of my job to enroll you, like I'm coming into starting with scholars and now graduating them. It's really, really exciting for me. And teaching the capstone class is definitely a highlight of the job, in addition to onboarding new scholars. So thank you all for sticking with the program, for coming with us on this journey, for embarking on your own journeys in a brave and courageous way. And I do just want to give it up for our scholars again. As you all move into the next chapters of your lives, please stay in touch. And as you continue to do amazing, incredible, inspiring community work into the future, whether that be in schools and hospitals, with animals, with the environment, any mix of those things, you will find lots of different paths and threads through your life. And I'm so happy to be here tonight to celebrate you, so let's give it up. There's also the URL at the bottom if you want to find all of the program things for this evening. And just as Laurel mentioned, we do want to get all of our graduating scholars together to take some photos downstairs in front of the balloon arch. So if you do have time, we will go down there as soon as we conclude, which will be in just a moment. And then families can join us as well. We can all come down together and we can take photos. Also take some food with you on the road if there are some snacks left over. And thank you all again so much for being here. Have a wonderful evening.